Morning, everybody. 8:16 a.m., July 14th. Got some continuation in the market yesterday. Gapped up, two gapped ups in a row for the Nasdaq. Um, ES kind of like opened right at the pretty much opened not in a gap, but like basically touched yesterday's high and then kind of like meandered and then went higher. Then we have bank earnings today, United Healthcare earnings. So we had like JP Morgan, Citibank, BlackRock, a bunch of those reported. I think all of them have been beats so far. So that's what's going on in the market. That should help the Dow. United Healthcare is going to help the Dow. So let's get into this. My name is Steven Gonzalez. Welcome to my channel. Use volume profile, market profile to see the structure of the market. Now, very importantly, I've been talking about the structure every day, right? Saying, hey, we're over these levels. That's bullish. Doesn't matter what I think, if it's overbought or whatever. This is bullish, right? And we've been just moving higher. So, and price can fool you. It fools me every day, sometimes. Like, oh man, look at this. And the next thing you know, holds a level. Next thing you know, we're moving higher, right? Market is tricky. That's to say for sure. Um, so, yep, we use gamma exposure levels, supply and demand, key levels. Look for some confluence, right? The structure to look at potential scenarios, right, for the market. As always, subscribe if you haven't already. Set an alert. You can always give me a good like, a thumbs up. That would be very helpful. And you can always check me out on my social media, Gonzo719 on Twitter, Gonzo719 Jersey on Instagram. Instagram's probably not the best file right now. I've kind of been busy with work, so having long days, so my reels have been, my shorts have been hurting because I haven't had time to do that. So, but I still use my Twitter, and we can get right into the watch list here and see exactly what's going on right now, right? All right, so silver, top on the list, up 0.55%. The VIX, interesting, is up 0.51. The Dow's up 0.47. A lot of help from United Healthcare. Um, so that's the largest holding in the Dow. Dollar is slightly up. ES is basically slightly up. Nasdaq's flat. 10-year yield has not reported. It will report in less than 1 minute. Bonds are being sold. So 10-year yield should rise a little bit. Gold's flat. Bonds being sold slightly. Ether down a little bit. Um, Crude down slightly. Russell down slightly. Bitcoin's down 1.72%. That's kind of interesting. After that ruling with the XRP not being a security, which threw coin skyrocketing and XRP rocketing. So that's pretty big news on the crypto front. Maybe people took profit on that move yesterday or last night. Let's move in. Let's move on to the next watch list. Some top stocks that I look to day trade and swing trade. Leader, JP Morgan, beat earnings. They're up 2.77%. Microsoft, unbelievable, this stock here. Up 1.87%. It's got an upgrade. Netflix, up 1.63%. Nvidia's up one. I mean, this is just crazy right now. 1.48%. So those four are ripping, right? And then we just drop off. We drop off and we go down to Meta is down 0.63. Baba is down 1.36. Okay, Baba's been on quite a move. Coin is down 2%, but it rocketed yesterday. I mean, that was a huge move. Huge move. And basically hit, and to be honest with you, I was looking at it. God, I had a couple downgrades yesterday, but I was looking at it and I was interested when it hit, but dropped below 84, 83. Huge flip points and gamma levels there, and it held it, and then it ripped, right? But I wasn't aware of that news right off the bat. But that was pretty amazing. Okay, so I don't know if Chief's listening. Maybe she can pop in the chat and just tell us why it's pulling back right now. Could be profit taking, but something could have been happened. I mean, that huge move is nothing. I mean, it's still at 104. But let's move on. Top sector stocks. Okay, United Healthcare is up 3%. Pre-market, they beat all around. Okay, EPS, revenue. So that's good news, right? Goldman Sachs, they're up 1.68%. I don't think they reported today. No, they report next week. But they're simply to play with other financials. Morgan Stanley up 1.5. No surprise there, followed by Roblox. And then it drops off a cliff. And there's not really a lagger per se in these top sector stocks. So we can move on. We're probably going to know what the leader is today. Financials. No surprise there, right? Financials up 1%. Followed by healthcare, which is United Healthcare's largest holding in XLV. Followed by semis, which is Nvidia. Tech, which is Microsoft. And then the weakest one is energy, but that's not that weak, right? That's not that weak. And obviously the leaders of the indexes, like I showed you, the Dow with United Healthcare and financials is going to help the Dow. Goldman Sachs is, I think, the largest financial holding, I believe, in the Dow. So that's that for the watch list. There's some news. Let's look at the economic calendar really quickly. And I'm going to apologize for this because this keeps going off on me. But give me a quick second here. All right. So, I mean, finally a day not without big news. But just watch out. Okay, at 10 a.m. Michigan consumer sentiment, inflation expectations, consumer expectations, 5-year inflation expectations, and current conditions are drop at 10 a.m., which should cause a little volatility. So if you're in a tight stop or something, initiate a trade there. I'd be careful, right? And of course, I didn't put this up there, but we're talking about the market news here. All right, let's go over to here. Let's look at, so JP Morgan, and we talked about this a little bit, all right? So JP Morgan up 3.8, posted a 67% jump in profit. Surprising and shocking. Wells Fargo stock rose 2.8% after the lender reported a 57% jump in second quarter profit. BlackRock stock fell 1.4% after the world's largest asset manager only posted a 25% rise in the second quarter, even as investors poured money into its various market funds. That is very interesting. AT&T, I saw they got a downgrade, still fell 1%. Alcoa stock fell 2.5% after JP Morgan downgraded it. Microsoft, this is what I was talking about. Microsoft stock rose 1.8% after UBS upgraded its stance on the software giant to buy from neutral, citing AI catalysts and cloud stabilization, calling the shares too attractive to not buy. Very interesting, right? And then Nokia ADRs fell 9.2% after the Finnish telecom gear group lowered its full year outlook, cutting its forecast for sales in 2023. What else do we got? Big banks, we talked about that. Picket lines for the Hollywood actors. Oil on pace for weekly gains. Now, oil, talking about the oil. What is that going to do to CPI in the coming months? If we start going up and up and up in oil, it's a large component of CPI. So that's going to be very, very interesting, right? Very, very interesting. Now, I did see Bank of America talk about inflows. Let's see if we can see right here. Okay, it says largest inflow in 16 weeks to U.S. Treasuries, 8.7 billion. CPI was not a big surprise, but price action was. So investors forced to cover UST shorts. So it says 12.1 billion weekly inflow to bonds, 11.6 billion to stocks, 500 million from gold, and 17.6 billion from cash. And then there were some comments from Fed Waller yesterday, one in red here. The Fed will most likely require two more 25 basis point rate hikes this year, which we kind of all know, but he's just trying to be, I guess, a little hawkish, which the market's really not believing any of that, right? So we can get into the daily charts. All right. We had some continuation. Like I said, it pretty much opened at the highs of the previous day and then, got bought up. So let's just look at the move. So you see it opened right here, a small gap. Now futures it really didn't, but in the SPY it did. See, it opened right here and it touched the previous day's high, and then played some games in here, and then finally made the move higher. Went all the way up to 450. All right. So you can see here we're just one time framing higher. I mean, look at that. I mean, it's just like, look at that right here. You gap up, touch the high, take off, right? Gap up, don't even come anywhere here. Kind of have a doji. Then you gap up slightly, touch the high, and went higher, right? This market is just ripping higher. This could be FOMO. This could be, you know, who knows? But this definitely overbought, but it doesn't mean that it can't go higher, right? These are the weeklies. That's the monthlies, right? Are we going to reach 458? Because all-time highs is 479.98. I mean, this is a very big move. All right, but let's look at the profile. One thing to notice here is after we broke out of 444, okay, I said this had a bullish imbalance, right? But now look, starting to get thin up here, okay? Doesn't mean we're just going to sell off, but you're getting a little bit of thinness, okay? Now this market's moving up because of the financials in healthcare. So the SPY is moving up, right? Keep an eye on that. Now, you can see here, let's see here. Let's look at the Qs. Now the Qs just gapped up and gapped up, right? So we got a gap up, right? Two gaps in a row. gaps usually get filled. So very interesting. And the market is 379.62 right now. So the market's 379.62, which is, it's holding the top of this range here. Okay. Look at these weeklies. Big breakout over 372. Now we're going into supply on my futures chart, but just, I mean, this is the last time we took out a low. That's February of 2023, this year, right? It's the only time we took a low out, and then it was lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. So it's just moving, boy. Let's go to the profile, same thing, right? Broke the 372. Now we're starting to get some thin volume up here, right? So eventually you're going to get some type of correction or pullback. This is what you like to see, is when that volume starts to thin out. Now the only way it stays up here is it has to move this type of volume up here to sustain the move. Okay, so just keep an eye on that. Let's look at the Dow. Dow's not been very strong because of the weakness in United Healthcare. Okay, so overall you can see we are above the most traded price, right? But we see how we've just been weaker because of United Healthcare. So, you know, you're gapping up and gapping up in the Nasdaq. You're gapping up and then moving higher in the S&P. But look at the Dow. This is all because United Healthcare. So now this 343 has been support. Now we're at 345.65, 345.65. We're right gapping up here, right about here in the Dow. Okay. So very interesting what's going to happen with the Dow, right? Financials, Goldman Sachs, help on the Dow. Let's look at the weeklies, right? So we got a lot of overhead resistance here. I mean, can the Dow break out? I mean, all-time highs is 369 and a half. I mean, let's see, let's see, because we've just been in a range for the last 4 or 5 weeks. You can look at the monthlies. That's this big range, right? I would say if you'd make a move, 346 first, you have to get there. We're almost there now. And then 353.71 is about your next resistance, right? Let's look at the profile. See, you had resistance here. We're not that much above it now. Where did we go, right? This is last month's highs. That's where we're at right now. Last month's highs. Okay? We're above last week's highs, but last month's highs, that's where we're at right now. So keep that in mind. Russell, been the weakest of the indexes, and it's making a move. Okay, pull back all the way to 180, and now it's been a rocket ship. Okay, pulled all the way back here. Boom. And now it's just traversed the range, went to the upside, right? So, and I still have that fib on here. So we're still only at the 38.2 retracement of this move. And you'll see what I mean in the weeklies. From this move down, look, we haven't even came to 50% yet. We're just about coming to 38.2. Now we did, you can see in the Russell, we came down here and went all the way up to here before, to about 199.26. We've already done that once and then sold off. Now, what happens if we come up here again? That's the question, right? That's the question. Can we at least hit the 50%, 203? Don't know, right? Here's the profile. Now, one thing to note, this is a very different profile than the other profiles, okay? This is this week, right? It moved up, and look at all the volume building out here. That's a lot of volume building out here. So this is developing a push higher, possibly. Okay. This is last month's highs right there. Last week's highs, right? So if you can just hold here, possibly could move higher. Possibly. Okay. And the destination would be this 199.26. Very clear on the chart. All right, let's get into that triple headed monster. What a sell off in the bond market, right? Well, in the yields, which means buying of bonds. That is that is just like 4.008 all the way back to this range, right? Very big move, right? Equal to the move up, or equal to the move down. So people started buying bonds, basically. Okay, let's look at that VIX. VIX spiking up a little bit. That's just interesting. A little bit. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's still low here in 13.72. Have to watch that. The dollar, though, is the story. That dollar's got crushed yesterday, and like I said, ooh, man, it made a low here at 99.578. Now, I showed the weeklies. We haven't been here since let's see here, April of 2022. It's the last time the dollar was this low. April of 2022. You know, next support here, let's put it on the chart now that we've been that low, would be here, 97.27. Okay, here's monthlies. You can see we just went under this big support level. Next move is to here. Okay, let's see, when was the date last time we were this low? That is June of 2021. So watch the dollar. Very important. The dollar keeps moving down. That's going to be bullish for oil and commodities. Okay. All right. Moving on. Let's go to the market profile. Let's see what we have here in the ES here. All right. A couple things to note here. Let's get into it. All right. So, what's happened, right? So, most traded price of the month is still down here. That price, 44.15. Okay. 44.15. So just keep that in mind. However, the most traded price of the week has moved higher. Okay. Right here. Look at that volume. That's bullish. Okay. What price is that? 45.30. That's our line in the sand. And you got a demand zone right here. That's the line in the sand. Market needs to stay above this level. Okay? In order to continue higher. Alright, so let's look at. So, first thing I'm noticing, we have a weak high here. Okay, so that's yesterday's high and the overnight high. Potential another breakout point or potential resistance, right? So this is yesterday's high, this is the overnight high. Okay, this is the overnight low, this is yesterday's low. Got a very, very prominent POC, point of control, most traded price. You can see the volume here. That's why it's the line in the sand. Okay, got a very balanced profile as well. You can see all the volume here, and then probably with these bank earnings pushed it up. Now we got a nice balanced profile here. See? That doesn't tell us a lot. Okay. Now, what is price telling us that's right here? Well, we closed here, and now the market, you got kind of a spike here, so we could talk about spike rules. So let's just make this bigger so we can all see what I'm seeing. Okay. Okay. So here's our little spike right there, right? Price is here. So right now the market's saying, it's telling us it's accepting the higher prices. It's accepting the higher prices. Okay. So that's bullish, obviously. And then we have this weak high right there. I don't know how much more this market's got in it, but it definitely can go higher. So watched 45.51. So basically yesterday's high. Okay. Now volume is getting thinner from this point. Okay. So after all this buying, you could see a push up, and then that could maybe give the correction. But I don't know, right? I really don't. And I don't have many levels above here. Okay. But that's what I am seeing. Now, as far as getting to a scenario here, let's do that. So what I need to see, I mean, you got Microsoft up $6 right now. It's pretty crazy. So let's look at this together. All right. So now, if remember, like I said, this is our line in the sand right here. So for the bullish scenario, you need to see one or two things. Okay, you need to see this weak high taken out like this. Somehow it gets taken out, right? It could drop, whatever. If it takes it out, right, goes up and then starts to hold here, you may possibly could get a move higher. Is that the long you want to be in? I'm not sure about that, right? But that could happen. Okay. The other thing is, if you manage to come down here, remember this is more of a bullish scenario. You could come down here, and this is the line in the sand, right here. This is where you want to see it defend it. Can the buyers defend this, and will they buy another dip? Right? If we come in this demand, you start coming in here, you're playing some games, you start holding above it. Well, at least you can go to yesterday's highs, and then possibly join for one more move higher. Okay. Now, as far as the bearish scenario, right? Because we have volume, a lot of volume here, and the volume is thinning out. Okay, so in order for this move to happen, you need more people to start coming in here. Now, we could do something like this, right? With volume, run out of participants. So we know we have a weak high here. Okay, and in a bearish scenario, this could be a push up, get some FOMO on people, come back, start making some lower highs, and then you're gonna see if this right here is a buyable, but this is a bearish scenario. If we come in and start holding below it, right? maybe make an attempt up to it again. That could be the move where we get this pullback to here. Okay, the market could rest here for the weekend, or you might go back to yesterday's lows in this demand zone, right? So that's what I'm seeing with the ES. Let's move over to the NASDAQ. Okay, so we have a weak high also in the NASDAQ. Okay, so let's just look at the NASDAQ. Now the NASDAQ, let's just make this smaller and I'll make it bigger. Let's look at this, right? Let's look at our key levels. Most traded price of the week is still down here. Most traded price of the month is still down here, right? So look at the volume. And I want you guys to notice this. Most volumes here, right? And it's been on a less volume, less volume, less volume, right? And what do we have here? Supply. Okay, so we're running out of big volume, getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Can this profile run out of steam up here and you finally get that correction? Possibly. Possibly. Okay. Let's look at yesterday and today. So we have our week high. So there's yesterday's high. There's the overnight high. There's yesterday's low. Overnight low. Very balanced profile. Okay. Not a lot to read from that. Okay. Little bit of single prints in here. But again, price is here. Here's that little spike. We're holding within the spike. That's the market's just accepting the higher prices. You can't dispute that, right? The market is accepting these higher prices. We're not down here. We're above the close and we're here. Okay? So, this is, again, you're holding these prices, right? But you're running out of volume as we move higher. Okay? So, this is very, very interesting. Now, we have our week high here. So similar situation. I kind of like the ES possibly better. Not sure, but I like that there's overhead supply in the NASDAQ. So, okay. So here you don't have that clear. Well, you do. Let me get into it here. Let's just go to what's been happening, right? Holding higher prices. So in this bullish scenario, there's our week high. What could we do? We could push up to it, break it, right? But now we're in supply, and you have to see if the bulls are strong on this pullback, can we go higher, right? That's really the question. Now you have a long ways to go from this overnight low all the way back to the most traded price. So as far as the pullback here, this would be it. But it's not as good as the ES. But, so basically if we do come down, break the overnight low, this is your next test. And to see if you can just then move higher. Okay. However, today, the NASDAQ probably looking decent for a possible correction, right? So here's that week high. Okay, let's talk about that week high, right? We know we have volume up here in this area from yesterday and today, the overnight. So we know we have buyers all in here, right? Think about that. Buyers, right? We have buyers all the way through this whole way. Higher lows, higher lows. Okay? So, finally, it makes it a little bit juicy. for some type of correction, some type of pullback, right? And now also Microsoft's gapping up. So, you think about that. Microsoft, Nvidia, Netflix, all moving higher, right? Well, if we do, that's why I think we'll come up here, break this week high, boom, you'll get a move. Now we're in supply. Now, if I'm one of those people who may be holding them, I might want to take some profits, right? So you might see some lower highs come in. Now, the test would be back to this week high, this level, 157, call it 157.40, right? You want to see what the market does. But if we are to break that and start holding under, well, market could then test the overnight lows. If it breaks that, we're most likely probably going here. And if people really get a little bit nervous, we're probably going to touch this gap, top of the gap, which is yesterday's low. Doesn't mean it's bearish, doesn't mean we're falling apart, okay? It just means that we've come a long way up, and you don't go up forever, right? But we have to see. I'd want to see this and then start to get weakness, right? Okay. Let's just look at a couple of these charts here. So we're running out of steam here. See, the white profile is this year. Okay, you can see the steam running out. Like I said, doesn't mean we can't go higher, just means that steam is running out. Volume's getting less and less and less. And eventually what happens is you pull back. Right? That's the ES. NASDAQ. Now look at that volume right here. Oof. That's huge volume, right? But then look. It's tapering. It's tapering. I think you can get a little push higher and then start the comeback. Right? Still bullish. Even if you come back to here, then you lift off again. So, just wanted to show everybody that. So, I got my plan. I would say in the NASDAQ, I'm leading more towards a short bias. But I have to see what I want to see in order to get into that, right? So, I wish everybody good luck today. Remember, 10 a.m. Be careful if you have a short stop loss or something, because 10 a.m. all that Michigan consumer stuff comes out. Stay green. Have a great weekend, and most likely be hearing from me on Monday. And looks like we're getting into earnings season. So wish everybody good luck today, and I'll talk to you later.